decision, I'm happy it was not a waste, right? So moving on, we're going to look at choosing what's it called, personal CDS. So personal CDS is basically where people sit down and say, we want to do a project in a community, we want to help people. And as much as I can try today to speak to this particular area, I will try my best to do justice to it. And I must say, this is the first time I would be speaking extensively. This is the most extensive webinar or resource from one NYSC or one NYSC related that you will see on personal CDS. However, we will work in-house to see how we can develop a free guide for people, because people have reached out a lot regarding implementing a personal CDS project, and I understand the struggles. So the first thing is identify a problem with the local community. You don't want to solve a problem that you think is a problem, but it's not a problem, if that makes sense. You don't want to solve a problem that you think is a problem, but it's actually not a problem. So you want to understand what are the problems that these people are facing, what are their most pressing needs, how can I tailor, how can I do something to help? It may not necessarily be to the entire community where you're serving. It may be to a community of students. It may be to a community of old people. It may be to a community of young people, right? Community basically means target audience. That's what community means in this context. Next is, I always recommend, if you have a good LGI, please go and have a conversation and say, Sir or Ma, I have identified this issue. I want to do this. What is your advice? How do I go about it? You can also speak to the community development officer for the state. The person usually sits in the NYSC state secretariat. You can go and meet the person, have a conversation and say, how do I go about this? What are your recommendations, right? Because you're coming in from a different terrain. So you don't necessarily know what has worked in that community or what has not worked before. Then get a template from your LGI. So your LGI is going to give you a template and tell you your proposal should have maybe an opening statement, your proposal should have budget, and the budget should not be funded by your family or by you. The budget has to be funded by an external party. The LGI will also tell you that for NYSC to recognize this project as a CDS, as a personal CDS, for you to be, for you to be able to receive an award or for you to be able to become a national honoree, you need to implement your project maybe 2 months before passing out or 1 month before passing out. You also need to give them a report. You need to submit your report so and so day. So these things are important. And remember, we have 6 sets of core members, batch A stream 1 and 2, batch B stream 1 and 2, batch C stream 1 and 2. So whatever batch you're in, it's a lot of work also for the NYSC official. So you want to do your part and make things seamless. Then when you have gotten this information from your LGI and you know what you want to do, create a proposal and source for funding. So you want to create an actual proposal. This proposal may be similar to the template the LGI has given you, but it has to be a professional proposal. Where do you get funding from? You can call for donations from family and friends. You can apply for grants. Grants have timelines. So if you apply for a grant, apply for plenty, right? Because they usually come with a lot of rejections. I'm going to tell you that for free. You can also crowdfund. I believe crowdfunding has proven to be a pretty much effective way for core members to implement projects with funding, to get funding, honestly. You set up a GoFundMe and you say, there's this problem, I'm a core member, I want to help me to help. That's basically it. It may not necessarily be a GoFundMe, but use a crowdfunding account in itself. And send cold emails to organization, right? For my project, in fact, I had different projects, different proposals, and I wrote to people. I remember writing to Schneider Electric. I remember writing to NCDMB severally. The board never got back to me anyway because I kept getting an automated response. I kept writing. Until one day somebody decided to show me mercy and say, your message, it has not gone past the front desk. Stop writing. It's not going to go anywhere. Right? So, of course, there's also that and different applications and grants before I eventually got funding to implement. And because I got funding late, I could not implement my project as a core member. But I implemented it in the state, but it happened after service was done. So that's why these timelines, these things are important. Let me tell you, it's passion. Passion is important in making change, but change itself can be expensive, right? It's what it is. Send cold emails to organizations. I'm also going to say it's important to understand the financial year of the organization you're sending an email to. So for instance, if someone comes from camp in batch C stream 2. That time you come from camp or why you're going to camp, that's when you want to start sending the emails. Because when you come in January, many organizations will tell you, oh, we've already submitted annual reports. We cannot add it to our budget. That's the corporate grammar they will tell you. They tell you it's a good initiative, but they can't add it to their budget. They already have budgets that they want to spend for the year. So it's important that you put this into consideration. Does this organization's what's it called financial year start at the beginning of the year? Does it start after the anniversary? Does it start in the middle of the year? Does it start at the beginning of second quarter? These are some things you want to put into consideration when you're sending cold emails and reaching out to people. Of course, implement your project and ensure that your local government inspector is involved in the commission. So even if it is a spelling bee competition you're doing, please involve your LGI and involve, if you can, the state coordinator. It's better you invite state coordinator and they tell you she's busy and she doesn't come. And maybe she sends another NYSC staff to represent her from the state office. I'm going to tell you this as a bonus tip. Even if you're not doing a personal project, document everything. But if you're doing a personal project, it is very, 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 very important to document everything. Document in writing, document in evidence. Today you created financial proposal, the price was 10 naira. Tomorrow you go to the market, they tell you the budget is 50K. You want to keep all those budgets because it will help you with your planning. It would help you to know when you're being cheated. And when I say document, I'm also saying get the media involved. You don't have a good phone, get someone with a good phone camera. I did NYSC without having a good phone, at least the most part of it. I took most of my pictures on people's phones, but I documented, right? Have a friend to come and do a video, have a friend to come and cover. You can do a YouTube video on it later, that's fine. And if it's an actual personal CDS, whether you're doing it with getting your LGI involved or just doing it as a core member, please get the media involved. You can write to an editor, maybe Cable, Punch, write to them. You have what's it called? Students that are journalists. There's this reach out to NYM, what's it called? On NYSC. We can help you reach out to one or two journalists that we know within our network to help you document and publish the story, even if it is one media publication. It goes a long way, right? It is very important. It is very, very important that you have that in writing. Okay, dealing with rejections. Yes, I saw this as part of the subs that TSS wants me to speak on, and I'm going to speak on it briefly. Because I wanted to do a project, I went far and wide in applying. Some supporting resources for this will be 2 articles on my LinkedIn, collaboration, climate education project, and honing your service here from the lens of the Oracle. So when you look at honing your service here, it's a 12-minute read. It basically tells you community development projects I did, either volunteering with an organization, leading an initiative, just participating in something, either with my CDS group or with an actual NGO, right? These are some of the things that are pretty much documented in this 12-minute read. And you would learn a lot from every small part, every small paragraph that you read, you would learn something. Collaboration Climate Education Project talks about the actual project that I implemented. And before I got funded for this particular project, I had gotten over 50 rejections. And sometimes it becomes easier to get funding when you say you want to collaborate. So when you're writing, you want to look for a local NGO and say, oh, I'm a core member, I want to do this project in collaboration with your NGO. Maybe create a term of reference, sign an MOU, memorandum of understanding between you and the NGO to know what you are doing, to know what the NGO is doing, right? And then it makes it easier. So when you're applying for a grant, you can say, as a core member in partnership with XYZ organization, I am asking for this amount to help implement a project in this community. And it's always good when it's a grassroots community. It increases your chances of getting the grant or the funding. First thing I would say about dealing with rejection is separate the rejection from yourself. If you want to do anything successful in life, plenty rejections would come. It doesn't mean that at first trial you cannot be successful at things, but rejections will come at different points. So your application was rejected, you were not rejected. The applications I have submitted and I didn't get a feedback, meaning a no. But when I go back and see maybe a video, maybe they told me to do a 1-minute video, I see that nobody watched the video. So it means the application was not seen to the end, right? Don't make excuses for why your application was rejected if they don't tell you. If they give you a generic answer, you want to know exactly why, you can send an email later and say, oh, I would like to know the exact reason. If someone in HR has time and they like you and your favor, they will probably send you a response, right? But separate the rejection from yourself. You're not a rejection because your application was rejected. The next thing I'm going to say is rest. Or sometimes when you get a rejection, you just want to drink cold stone ice cream if you can afford it, or you want to get a small Domino's pizza, or you want to get yourself just a small shawarma and just say, I have done some work. 2 years ago, I would never have put in an application, but today I put in an application and I saw it to the end. Right? Celebrate yourself, pat yourself at the back. If you don't celebrate yourself, nobody is going to celebrate you. Right? But don't make it a thing where, oh, for every rejection, just go and buy shawarma. Don't make it an addiction. Don't make it that bad. Right. So those are basically the tips for dealing with rejection, and learn from the rejection to move forward. For every rejection you get, ask yourself, are there things I could have done better? For every application you submit, sit down and say, is this the best I could have done? Or is there a way I could have made this better? I like to give my best to everything I do. So if I get a no, I know within my power, within the access to knowledge, within the access to resources and network I had, this was the best I could come up with. And at this particular point, even if they gave me to redo the application, it won't have gotten any better than this. That's what you want to be able to say to yourself. And a key thing, like I said with LinkedIn, is document. So you're submitting an application for a grant today, write it down. Write it down, have a doc, a sticky note or something. When you're applying for another grant, go back and look at the previous responses that you gave. Some of them will be copy and paste, but some of them you will have to make changes to them. And please don't use AI for your application. You're smarter than that. Your brain is smarter than that. People can tell when you use AI for things. And that's why a lot of people don't get into things, because they are not thinking. Nobody wants to think. So that would be that for dealing with rejection and reflection. Because of time, we're going to have to skip that. Bonus section is basically just optimizing, NYSC for global relevance. And in 3 words, it is God,